Hey guys, I wanted to show you how to build your army in the Warhammer 40k app. So in this section, I'm going to go over data sheets, I'm going to go over army building, and the easiest way to do it is in the Warhammer 40k app. There is an app called the New Recruit app as well, which is also quite good. And if you're going to play on Tabletop Simulator at all, I highly recommend using that as well. The reason being because you can you need to use that to upload your list to Tabletop Simulator. The Warhammer app will not do that for you. So to start with, you need to build your army. So you need to select your army. We're going to just do Space Marines because that is the standard issue. Everybody starts at Space Marines, and since you are likely a beginner if you're watching this, we're going to start there. And if you've chosen another army, just understand that all these same things still apply to you. So, first thing is, we hit this little add button down here in the bottom right hand corner, and it's going to bring up a list of armies. So you can choose from any of these armies that you have models for. I am going to choose the Space Marines. So I'm going to come down here, and you're going to see the Space Marine Army. Now, inside of Space Marine, there are several sub-factions. This is not the case with every army, but it is the case with Space Marines. So, in this case, the most common Space Marine army is the Ultramarines. They are kind of GW's poster boys. So, what I'm going to do, though, is I'm just going to pick generic Space Marines for now. The next thing you're going to do is choose the size of battle. You need to understand that each unit in Warhammer 40k has a specific number of models, and it has a specific points value to it that changes about once every 4 months in balance updates. You can see those at warhammer-community.com, and I'll link that later in this section of the course so that you can go reference that later. So in this case, let's build a 1,000 point list. Actually, let's build a 2,000 point list. We'll click there. Now, we need to select a detachment. Space Marines have a ton of detachments. Don't let that overwhelm you. The standard Space Marine detachment is Gladius Task Force. It's the original one that came out for it, and it's probably the best one to learn on, so that's the one we'll choose here. Your army may or may not have the Gladius Task Force. If you did not choose Space Marines and say you chose Tau, you won't have Gladius Task Force. You will have a completely different detachment. Every army has a detachment and an army rule that goes with it. So we will select Gladius Task Force here, and then we'll give it a name. Sample Army. Fancy. So now that I have my sample army created and I've chose my rules, I'm going to click Create Army. Now you may be wondering, what in the world is Gladius Task Force? Gladius Task Force gives you very specific rules and what's called stratagems. We're going to get into a lot more of that later, but I'll touch on it briefly here. Stratagems are special abilities that your army alone can use for what's called a command point. And in addition to that, you have army rules. You also have detachment rules. So I'm going to click on this up here, and it's going to show us all of the stratagems that come with the core game, which many of these are core stratagems, but also that Gladius Task Force can use. Adaptive strategy, for example, is a detachment-based stratagem. We're not going to get all that into this. Command reroll is a core stratagem. Some of these are available. Core stratagems are available to all armies in Warhammer 40k. Detachment-specific stratagems are only available to your army that you're playing. Space Marines have an army rule. So this is for almost all Space Marines. There are some that this does not apply to, but for the most part, this rule applies to Space Marines. So this is called Oath of Moment. And what this allows a Space Marine army to do is at the start of the command phase, you can select one enemy unit that's on the table, and your entire army can re-roll the hit roll against it. Now, with that said, they can also, if they are not Black Templars, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, remember all those sub-factions I told you about earlier? Well, we're not worried about those right now. If you're not one of those specific ones listed in this, you get +1 to your wound roll as well, which we will get to that as well later in the combat and phases. So basically, Space Marines can choose one unit to re-roll the hit roll against and modify their wound roll to make it better. In addition, they have detachment rules. So detachment rules allow you to do special things for your army. This one, once per game, you can choose to advance and shoot. You can choose to fall back and shoot and charge, or you can declare a charge in which you advanced. Again, we'll get into all of that later. I just wanted to show you that there's special flavor to each of the army options that you choose. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we picked our army. We picked our detachment. So we have our army rule and our detachment rules set up. Next, we need to pick a warlord. So in this case, you can pick any of these characters, and sometimes there are named characters because I didn't choose a specific army sub-faction like Ultramarines or Space Wolves. All of these are generic characters that can be taken up to 3 times. Let's go ahead and pick the Librarian Phobos armor, just because he's a cool model. From here, I backed out here, and now he's in our list. You can see he costs 70 points. We want to get to 2,000 points, so what we need to do is look at what complements him. In this case, I'm not going to fully build out an army and all that stuff and try to make something good right now. I just want to show you how to add things to your list. You can do all the research on your army yourself. You have battle line units. You can take up to 6 of these squads. If they're battle line, you can take up to 6, and if they're transport, you can take up to 6. Other data sheets. These are other data sheets that you can take in your army. You can take up to 3 of these. You cannot take more than 3 of these in a 2,000 point game. So let's say that I want a sniper unit, eliminator squad. I'm going to add that to my list. And now I have a warlord. By clicking here, I now have a warlord, and you'll see that that turned green down at the bottom. I've chosen 155 points. And the next thing I want to do is I want to look at this eliminator squad and make sure he has the right weapons on him. So each of these weapons can be replaced with very specific rules, and we'll get into that later as well. Again, I'm just trying to give you a good overview of army building right now and how the app works. So there are something interesting about these 2 units and the reason I chose them. This guy, the Librarian in Phobos armor, can be attached to the Eliminator squad, and they benefit each other in a number of ways. We'll get more into that later, but I want to let you know that this becomes a single unit on the battlefield. Now, let's talk about data cards. This is the app data card. It has a number of different things that you can do in here. But essentially, we're going to start with the movement. He has 6 inches of movement. This guy's toughness is T4. So he's tough 4. He saves on a dice roll of a 3 or better. So 3, 4, 5, or 6. He has 4 wounds, so he would have to take 4 damage before he's removed from the table. He has a leadership characteristic of 6, and he has an objective control characteristic of 1. So he can move up to 6 total inches in the movement phase. If he's attacked, he saves on a 3 unless armor penetration adjusts that. Well, next up we have ranged weapons. These are used in the shooting phase. This is a good unit to choose from to choose because he has a different profiles. So he gets all of these profiles, sort of. So first of all, he has a bolt pistol. He can only use the bolt pistol in combat or if he does not use his smite attack. The smite attack is both the same attack, but one's more powerful than the other, and it adds the hazardous keyword to this character's attacks. If he takes a hazardous test, rolls a 1, he's going to take 3 mortal wounds, and that would leave this character on 1 and almost leave him dead. But sometimes it's worth that risk. So, just back to the basic stats. The first number on the left is 12 inches for the bolt pistol, 24 inches for the Witchfire Smite attack, and same for the focused Witchfire Smite attack. In fact, we're going to ignore the focused version right now and just talk about the bolt pistol and the Smite Witchfire. So, the next column over, we have attacks. That's what the A stands for, attacks. It's the number of dice that you get to shoot your weapon with. So the bolt pistol gets 1 attack. The Smite Witchfire gets D6 attacks. So you would roll a dice to determine how many dice he gets to roll with. So if you roll 1d6 and it turns out to be a 6, you get 6 attacks. If it turns out to be a 1, you get 1 attack. Next you have your ballistic skill. This is the number that you're going to hit on. The hit roll is made with, so if with the bolt pistol, it would be 1 attack and you'd hit on a roll of a 3. Next you have your strength of your weapon, which is a 4 on the bolt pistol and a 5 on the smite. Then you have armor penetration. Armor penetration is 0 for the bolt pistol and 1 for the smite attack. The armor penetration modifies the save roll of the character. So if he was being shot, he has a 3-up save. If he were being shot by an AP 1 weapon, that would make him save on a 4. Anything less than a 4 and he would fail, and then we would move on to the damage characteristic. The damage characteristic is how much damage he takes if he fails his save. In the bolt pistol's case, he would take 1 damage. In the smite Witchfire's case, he would take D3 damage. A D3 is determined by rolling a single dice, and a 1 and a 2 would equal 1, a 3 and a 4 would equal a 2, and a 5 and a 6 would equal a 3. So a maximum of 1 dice would be D3 damage, and in the case where, say he had 3 hits go through, you would roll 3 D3 damage. So next up, we're going to close out the ranged weapons here, and we're going to look at the melee weapons. This guy's range is melee, so this is within 1 inch of your fight in your fight phase. So there's a lot that comes between these two things, but I just want to show you it's the same exact thing in the melee and the shooting profiles. You have 4 attacks on his melee weapon. He has 3. He hits on a 3 with his weapon skill. It's a strength 6 weapon, AP 1, D3 damage. Next up, you have abilities that the leader has. We're going to ignore the top part here for right now, but you'll see that he's a leader and he's an infiltrator. Infiltrator means he can come into the center of the board during deployment. You see he still has Oath of Moment, so they can reroll the hit roll on 1 unit. And then this unit gives his unit a 4-up Feel No Pain against psychic attacks. I'll talk to you about Feel No Pains later as well. I'm sorry I'm saying that so much, but this is a lot of information to get through, and I just want you to understand the basics of the data sheet right now. Next, he has a shrouding psychic ability. So while this model's leading a unit, remember what I said earlier about him being able to be attached to those snipers? That means those snipers would have the stealth ability, which would make them -1 to hit, and they cannot be targeted unless the attacking model is within 12 inches of them. So they can't be seen. They're hiding in a bush. The leader ability allows the leader to be attached to different units, but specific units for each leader. So you'll see here that they can be attached to eliminators, incursors, infiltrator squads, or reaver squads. In this case, we had discussed this earlier, we added them to an eliminator squad, but that's not all he can lead. Next up, you have the unit composition. So this tells you what size base he should be on. Occasionally that changes, but not too often. 40 millimeters for his base. He's called the Librarian of Phobos armor. He has 1 model, and he has 70 points to take in your army. And then down at the bottom you have keywords. This one is infantry character, grenades, which gives him access to the grenade stratagem. Psyker, so he is a psychic model. He's in the Imperium, he's Phobos, and he's the Librarian. Each one of these keywords has specific things that allow for different rules to take effect, which of course we will also talk about later. Now, we also have an Eliminator Squad. The Eliminator Squad can take multiple different weapons. You can look into what your weapons do yourself. And he can be attached to the leader there. And you'll see that he has very different stats than the Phobos Librarian. This guy can shoot 36 inches, but he only gets 1 shot to do so. So remember, 36 inches of range, 1 shot. He hits on a 3. And then he's got a strength, AP, and damage characteristic, just like all the other characters. So everybody has those things. This character is -1 to be hit from stealth, and he can be deployed in the center of the board. And then he's got his own abilities that you can use on this unit. For example, Mark the Target gives them dev wounds if they don't move. That means that on a 6 on the wound roll, they make an unsavable wound roll, but only on a 6 on the wound roll. Again, more on all that later. And you can see that this has 3 different models. So one thing, the reason I actually came in here is I wanted to show you that if you have 3 models in the unit with a bolt sniper rifle, it shoots 36 inches and you get 1 shot per model. So it's not 1 shot for the unit. You get 3 shots. You can hit on 3s, strength 5. It's going to be strength AP 2, so it's going to modify the save roll by 2 damage, and then it's going to do 3 damage to the model that it's shooting at. This one has precision, which means that you can target specific characters and actually shoot the model you want. And it's heavy, so if they don't move, they get +1 to the hit roll. So that would make this 3 shots, hitting on 2s, strength 5, AP 2, 3 damage. They're really good for sniping out characters that are attached to a unit. That's the basics of the data sheet. And then you would just go through and read your data sheets, find out what you want to add to your army, find out what models can be attached to what, and just add them in. I'm not going to build out 2,000 points. This video is already 20 minutes long, so definitely have fun building your army list, reading your army rules, read your detachment rules, and just build an army you think is going to be fun at first. Later on you can get into the competitive stuff and all that. For now, just have a good time. See you in the next video.